Hi guys, it's Bunnymon and welcome to today's video and welcome to another WWE reaction. As you can see, I am in a different room, in a different setup. I'm literally visiting Germany right now and I'm waiting for my apartment in January. Until then, through the holidays and New Year, I will be here as a guest and I am so happy and lucky to be able to stay someplace. But also, I will be celebrating the holidays. So happy holidays, happy Christmas to everyone who is celebrating. I hope you are going to enjoy it with your family and friends. I hope you're gonna have really awesome food. You're gonna have a lot of treats and a lot of gifts. You will have to bear with me when it comes to this setup. It is not what we are used to, but from January when I move to my new apartment, I will set it up and it's gonna be an amazing room and what's not. But I really didn't want to miss on uploads and I did miss a couple of days and I feel so awful and terrible about it, but I do want to get back into recording videos. So for the next couple of days I will be recording from here. Today's video was recommended by Trek and he said you should watch the downfall of Jeff Hardy. I did find a video. It's called Jeff Hardy, a spiral no one ever wanted, and this video is by Superkick Studios. If you want to check out the original video, head there and check it out. But if you are interested in my reaction, stick around. This video deals with drugs, alcohol, addiction. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jeff Hardy is one of the most exciting, electric, and beloved performers in pro wrestling history. Truly a one-of-a-kind human with a connection to the audience that you just can't manufacture.
True.
A daredevil who put his body on the line with a one-of-a-kind look and aura to him. For many, the charismatic
really cool.
enigma was someone that they always wanted to be when they were younger. Whether it was the original face paint, the neon arm sleeves, his way of dressing, or even hitting his signature swanton bomb into pools or on trampolines, he was tailor-made to entertain. In 1994, he made his WWE debut at the age of 16, and in 1998 he and his brother Matt signed with the company. The Hardy Boys became one of the most popular tag teams in the WWE, and slowly they were both.
When it comes to the Hardy Boys, I always heard about the Hardy Boys, and I always would see Jeff and I would imagine his face, never Matt's. For some reason his face stuck with me, even though I was never back in the day, I was never a WWE true fan. And still, as someone who had WWE around them, being mentioned or have seen posters and advertisements and stuff like that, Jeff Hardy would be the one that I would see. But I don't know if it was just me.
On the rise, a look that stood out. Their reactions started to get better and better because of the work they put in. Eventually they met their wrestling soulmates in the Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian. These guys put on the legendary triangle ladder matches that to this day are still seen as the holy grail of tag team wrestling. The performances opened a lot of eyes. It was only a matter of time before the Hardy Boys broke up and branched off into singles competition, particularly Jeff. He simply had a star quality to him, and he was the personification of the late 90s and early 2000s. The way he dressed, the way his hair looked, and of course the daredevil antics. By 2001, he beat Triple H to win the Intercontinental Championship, and in 2002, Hardy had a breakout performance against The Undertaker on Raw for the undisputed WWE title. He pushed Taker to the limit and showed the audience and those backstage that he was ready to take the next step and had outgrown the tag team division. Undertaker even showed Hardy respect after the match. When Jeff was put up against main event talent, he showed up and he showed out. Now it looked like it was time for him to start climbing the ladder to becoming one of WWE's biggest stars, but that wouldn't be for a while. Due to the wear and tear on his body and the grueling travel schedule, Jeff had developed addiction to drinking and drugs, with his performances starting to suffer. Most notably at Survivor Series 2002, where he completely forgot to push Rico off the top rope to the point where Rico was screaming at him. WWE offered him drug rehab, but he refused to go. In a 2006 article on WWE.com, it was described by the website's executive director as, quote, a poisonous drug addiction. Bruce Pritchard on his podcast said that it was illicit substances and that the company told him to either go to rehab or go altogether. JR backed this up on his podcast, saying that Hardy was in total denial and that Jeff believed that he didn't have a problem. He failed drug tests and displayed behavioral problems because he simply didn't care, and Jeff even said that he believed that this was an out on wrestling for him altogether. So him having an unwillingness to go to rehab forced WWE to release him in 2003. Following this, he went to Ring of Honor in an infamous match where the crowd booed him, chanted "F you Hardy, we want Matt," and rained chants of "you got fired" onto him. One of the most hostile matches you'll ever see. From here, Jeff basically left wrestling altogether until he showed up in TNA in '04. By the following year, things looked like they were alright, and Jeff had taken time to figure out what was wrong. But that simply wasn't the case. Another suspension came his way after he failed to show up to 2005's Hard Justice pay-per-view, where he was scheduled to wrestle Raven. He missed multiple flights out of North Carolina to Orlando, but it was reported that he made it to the hotel that everyone else was staying at. Technically speaking, this wasn't related to any drugs or substance abuse that the public knows of, but it didn't end there in 2005 for him. Jeff was again suspended by TNA for failing to appear at Turning Point. It should be mentioned that TNA had a more relaxed wellness policy than the WWE. They were also notorious for taking on those who had substance abuse issues. By 2006, he hadn't really found a turning point himself.
I wish there are no companies who would actually allow such behavior, because it would just let the people who are addicted realize, oh, okay, if you don't want me, there is always option B, option C, you know. Like, I wish they don't give them options, like it is this or that, and they would have the pressure of deciding whether to like let go of all of their dreams or get help.
Decided to let him go. 3 years ago, this was a career that was destined for success. Now, fired from the WWE, hated in ROH, and then let go by TNA. He was stuck in a spiral and he just couldn't get out of this, and the problems kept coming back and they kept getting worse. Jeff didn't take a sustained period of time away from wrestling to address them. Well, now WWE decided to give him another shot. On August 4th, 2006, the company announced that they had re-signed Jeff Hardy. When he came back, he teamed up with his brother Matt, won the Intercontinental Championship, and was back to re-establish himself all over again. As a single star was where WWE really saw him, because he was just that damn popular. But in July of 2007, he had another wellness policy violation. Jeff took to his website to say this was because of injury, but it was a false cover-up, with the moderators refusing to acknowledge that this was the case. Figure 4 Online...
Sure. Injury. We definitely believe you. Yeah.
Reported that this was in fact a suspension because he conveniently rocked up 30 days later. This was also backed up by Jim Ross on his blog. When he returned, guess what? He was again put into a prominent role because, again, WWE believed in him and they saw what they had. He and Triple H were the sole survivors against Team Umaga, and this started a rivalry between the two, where Jeff pinned Triple H to become the #1 contender for the WWE title. He got his match at the Royal Rumble against Randy Orton, but didn't win it. It looked like that the WWE was just holding off for a little bit. Heading into that year's WrestleMania, Jeff was set to be in and win the Money in the Bank match, according to many reports. But this time he had yet another violation of the wellness policy, this time getting slapped with a 60-day suspension exactly a year after his first violation. This caused him to miss WrestleMania and CM Punk to win the Money in the Bank in his place. Jeff was just inflicting wounds on himself at this point, failing to see what's in front of him. It is important to remember that what the person was going through behind the scenes, we don't know and we can't really comment on either. 3 days following his suspension, his house burned to the ground, in the process killing his dog. And again, you would think that because he had consistently broke WWE's trust and failed at every given turn, that there would be further repercussion on TV and they'd lose complete faith in him. It was actually the complete opposite. When he returned to the WWE, he was put into the title picture again, continuing his rivalry with Triple H, which saw him show more aggression and even get a WWE title match in 4 of the final 5 pay-per-views of 2008. In September of that year, Jeff had an incident at a Nashville airport where he was denied boarding because of intoxication. It's reported he still got his flight later in the day. He didn't cause a scene and he was professional about the incident. Towards the end of 2008, Jeff was scheduled to be in a triple threat match with Vladimir Kozlov and Triple H for the WWE title, but a report came out saying that he was found unconscious in his hotel room and that he wouldn't compete in the match. Of course, those substance abuse issues, this was just a storyline tool. Maybe not the best idea considering wrestlers like Eddie Guerrero were found dead in their hotel room. After he returned, he finally captured the WWE Championship at Armageddon 2008, the same pay-per-view where it really all began the previous year. And here he was. He did it. He was at the mountaintop. He was essentially the biggest star in the WWE, even though Triple H wasn't over the moon about him being the WWE champion. Hardy was outselling John Cena in merchandise, and if anything, the championship in his hands was...
this is the problem. Like, when you put a person on top while having these issues and these problems, you're just literally telling them that they can do it all. You know, they don't have to get any help. They don't have to change anything about their life and lifestyle because it's still working.
was a symbol that he should turn things around and look at what's in front of him and never ever reach that dark place ever again. Following a short WWE Championship reign, Jeff was put into a program with the World Heavyweight Champion, and that was Edge at the time. He beat him for the world title in a ladder match at Extreme Rules, and then he was cashed in on by CM Punk. And this began a rivalry where his addiction was brought into storyline. Two contrasting characters, Punk, straight edge, drug and alcohol free, and Jeff Hardy, who had turned to pills and alcohol many times. In this feud, Punk started calling Hardy weak for turning to drugs and alcohol on TV, even referencing eye drops, saying that this was the only way you get a prescription medication, saying that unlike Jeff, this was the only foreign substance that was going to go into his body. Punk got enraged at the fans that they were supporting an addict, saying that he's never been suspended or been to a rehab facility. This rivalry eventually led to a loser leaves WWE steel cage match, and Punk beat Hardy, causing Jeff to leave. Usually these are just storyline plays with the wrestler eventually coming back, but Jeff actually left. His contract was coming to an end, decided not to re-sign, and left on his own accord. The reason being was physical burnout. If I didn't mention it earlier, Jeff's style was one of risk, high flying, throwing caution to the wind, constantly putting his body on the line, quite literally jumping off anything and from anywhere. When Jeff Hardy left WWE, he had 2 herniated discs in his lower back, as well as neck issues. His goal was to heal up, come back to the WWE.
Let's be honest, no wonder he even got addicted in the first place. People like him would push so much and just get painkillers after painkillers just to be able to continue performing in pain. And of course, eventually it's so easy to just like cross the line and start getting really addicted to these painkillers and the feeling. Do I blame his career and his success behind his addiction? In a way, it's if you want to be on top and if you want to be the best, it is really difficult. It is possible to do it without any help, but it is so easy for people to find like ways to achieve these goals that are not really good for you. They don't think about the future. They don't think about their health, their future, the fact that it's more important for them to stay alive and share their success on a longer time with more generations, especially with their family and friends. They just think about the now, the present, and how they feel today.
That wouldn't be for another 8 years. WWE didn't want him to become a pure liability and for things to spiral even further. Shortly thereafter, in September of 2009, Jeff Hardy was arrested on 5 major drug charges. He had his home raided, with him being arrested under possession and trafficking controlled prescription pills, as well as possession of cocaine, trafficking of opium. His home was searched and the police seized 262 Vicodin prescription pills, 180 Soma prescription pills,
I don't know what these are, but I have a
555
feeling
milliliters
like
of anabolic steroids and cocaine. The estimated street value of the drugs was $2,500. He'd eventually plead guilty to this and served 10 days in jail. His addictions were for sure affecting his career, but things spiraled even more. In 2010, on the same day he was charged for the offense that I just mentioned, he returned to TNA, and the company from there pushed him as one of their top stars, and he even won the TNA World Championship. CM Punk mocked Jeff Hardy's arrest and referenced it on WWE TV. A video emerged of Jeff and Matt at a diner, Jeff rambling on about how he made CM Punk a star, how wrestlers like The Undertaker showed him respect, but Punk just ignored his existence and went right to the showers without saying a word, and also that Punk was taking Ambien to sleep. Jeff Hardy in a 2012 interview said, quote, CM Punk is crazy talented. We don't stay in touch or have contact, but I have nothing bad to say about the guy. Getting back to his TNA run, things went off the rail and he was at his absolute worst. It was December of 2010 at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. On that day, Mike Johnson of PW Insider reported that Jeff was going to be pulled from the pay-per-view following concerns of his behavior backstage after arriving to the event. There were conflicting reports on what was actually happening, whether the card would be changed or not, and apparently it was just an overblown misunderstanding. He later faced off against Matt Morgan. Nothing too noticeable, it was a slower match. Following it, there were other reports that said Hardy was, quote, hammered backstage. When TNA was asked for comment, they said that the whole thing was a misunderstanding as the company just finished a tour of Dubai and Hardy was just tired. Nothing to this day has been confirmed, but the following year things reached the most unfathomable low they ever could. 2011 and the infamous Victory Road pay-per-view where Jeff Hardy was set to face off against Sting. He showed up to the match clearly under the influence on live pay-per-view broadcast.
How do people notice that? What did he do?
On where he was, and someone who truly should not have been on television that night. He was in a zombie-like state with a dazed look in his face, even taking 40 seconds to show up onto the entranceway. Referee Brian Hebner throwing up the X because Jeff was in no fit state to compete. Out came Eric Bischoff to relay the message to Sting and Jeff Hardy that this was going to be a quick finish, and it went all of 88 seconds. Sting hit his finish and forcefully covered Jeff, who got up and just looked confused. Fans then chanted bullshit, to which Sting said, "I agree." Because of the incident, TNA apologized and gave everyone who bought the event access to TNA On Demand for 6 months. Following this, Jeff was suspended from TNA and completed 120 days in rehab and returned later in the year. In 2021, Eric Bischoff said that,
imagine being the person who paid so much money, literally saved, got excited, waited so long to go and watch this event, and this is what you get. It is so disrespectful because there's a lot of people who are huge fans of WWE and they literally go into savings, you guys, just to go to some of these events and support their favorite wrestlers. And imagine you having your fans and letting them down like this. I would feel terrible, really terrible. Like, it's not, at this point, it's not only about you. It's about other people.
Hardy arrived at the normal call time for talent and then disappeared for hours, and in those hours that he disappeared, he took the drugs. Next time he was seen was moments before the match, and this was a situation that was completely out of hand because no one saw this earlier. Bischoff said that Dixie Carter wasn't there and basically no one in a position of power was, so he took it upon himself to try to get the match over as quick as possible, which should be commended. Following this, no one from TNA contacted Jeff Hardy for a month, according to Bruce Pritchard. After this, he returned. He established himself right back up again for a second time, regaining everyone's trust and remaining consistent. There were no issues on the surface. He even resurrected his Will-O-the-Wisp character. Outside of wrestling, he was working on his music, released an album, and he was just doing his thing. It's a shame that it took such a widely crapped on incident for him to finally gain consistency.
But
by 2017, he re-signed with the WWE, and he and his brother made an amazing return at WrestleMania 33, winning the tag team titles in the most Hardy way possible. It looked as though everything had subsided, everything that had been plaguing him, everything that had been wrong. His demons were just that, demons. But be it the heavier road schedule, he again spiraled back into this. In June 2018, he received a 120-day suspended jail sentence and was fined $300 after he pleaded guilty to a DWI charge from March of that year. During that time, he crashed into a guardrail, causing his sedan to spin. He reportedly ran off the roadway, hitting 105 feet of guardrail before the back end of the car spun around and finally stopped. Police estimated on the scene that Hardy caused $13,000 worth of damages, with $8,000 for his totaled car and $5,000 for the crushed guardrail. In addition to all of this, he had to go to alcohol counseling and had to turn in his license. In this one, he had a 0.25 blood alcohol level, which is 3 times the limit in North Carolina.
Oh my God.
WWE addressed the arrest, saying that, quote, Jeff Hardy is responsible for his own personal actions. We are investigating the matter and awaiting information from local law enforcement officials. He was immediately booked for misdemeanor while driving intoxicated. Hardy the following year was recovering from a knee injury in 2019. And for some reason, even approaching his 40s, he still couldn't shake this off. The first incident was he was publicly intoxicated in South Carolina. Police saying they received a report of him being intoxicated in Myrtle Beach and that Hardy was passed out in a public stairwell. When the police arrived, he admitted that he had been drinking vodka. He was charged with public intoxication, posted bail, and was released on the same day. The case is considered closed since he paid the fine. The downward spiral continued with him getting his second DWI in just as many years in October of 2019, this time while driving with a revoked license and 3 times the blood alcohol level, again blowing a 0.25.
Oh my God,
Matt Hardy released a statement saying that since so many have asked me about my brother tonight, I love my brother and want him to be happy and healthy. I've expressed that to him as much as I can. Jeff has to make his decision about his life. I have to focus on my 2 boys and soon to arrive son. I can only control my...
even if you're a family member, even if you're a dad or a mother, like there is a point when you cannot help anymore. Like you have to let go. After trying everything, if nothing is working, don't blame yourself. Just let it go. Just let it go. It's not on you anymore. Even if you are the person who literally gave birth to that child, like it's not on you anymore. And this is what the people don't understand. Like they always blame themselves. They did something wrong somewhere along the line. Something happened that they could have changed or affected or influenced it. No, they have to decide by themselves. They have to get help. They have to decide that they want to get help, and they have to decide that they want to change their life. No one else, nothing else can change their mind. Of course, you can be there supportive of them and whatnot if they ask for help, but you cannot make them. You simply can't.
Actions.
And don't
Following nearly a year away, he returned to the WWE because he was still under contract. And again, WWE utilized him as much as they could. He told Corey Graves that he had a conversation with WWE and said, quote, I need help, I need treatment, there's something wrong with me with this alcohol thing. And he was pretty adamant that if he simply stopped drinking, he wouldn't be in trouble. This was a man aware of his actions. He knew exactly what was going wrong, how it was happening, and how it could be prevented. Following his return, WWE brought Jeff's personal issues to TV again, this time in a more expanded way. The storyline targeted booze, pills, Sheamus calling him a junkie, and they really went all into this. Sheamus even tried to get Jeff to drink again. Jeff working on his sobriety, trying to be a better husband, a better father. They even ran a segment where Jeff took a urine test on TV and he was arrested to begin the whole thing. They really didn't spare anything in this storyline. A short while later, things went sideways again. On December 4th, 2021, Jeff Hardy was competing at a live event and during a tag match disappeared into the crowd, failing to return. The following night, he didn't even compete because he was sent home from the house show loop. After this, WWE offered him to go to rehab, which he didn't accept, so the company released him. From here, he signed with All Elite Wrestling, and on June 13th, 2022, Hardy was arrested for driving under the influence, again with his suspended license. This situation is just sad. I don't even know what else to call it. A video showed Hardy completely confused on where he was, clearly in zero condition to be operating a vehicle, unable to perform anything asked by the officers, and he was arrested for driving under the influence, this marking his 4th arrest in total and 3rd DUI offense in a decade. Throughout this video, I've talked about the various issues that Jeff has faced in his career. He's had countless chances, and if it was any lesser performer, their career would have been finished by now. But even after the violations, even after screwing up, Jeff was given prominent roles within the companies he worked for. If Jeff would have been able to clean things up a lot earlier, his career would have been a lot different. That's not even an if, that's almost a guarantee. But there's always these incidents, these suspensions, and these troubles hanging over him. No one's perfect, and a character like Jeff is one we're probably never going to see again. A guy with a natural charisma and it factor who just meshed with the fans like no one else. But he just couldn't stay out of his own way, and he really was destined for greatness. The only guy who got in his path was himself. But for many, he also became a liability, chance after chance. Today, Hardy is still adored and will forever be a fan favorite, but this is a spiral that no one ever wanted for such a beloved performer. Everything surrounding him makes the story fascinating and at the same time unfortunate. The tale of Jeff Hardy is an interesting one which continues to live on today, but as the lyrics in his music suggest, he was the architect of his own defeat.
Defeat, okay. That was so true. I hope this story and his life story is an actual story for every single person out there to learn from other people's mistake. Like, this is what would happen to you if you go the wrong way. Like, your whole career would go down. Like, yeah, he got successful, he did earn money, but I feel like he wasted all that money on drugs and alcohol. He lived a sad life, and he still, I mean, there is still time for him to change his ways. It's never over. But the peak of his career, when he was the youngest with so much energy and when his body was the most able, like, he put his body through all of those shitty things, man, and it is really, really sad. You can literally Like, you can't do that, man, to yourself. Such a stupid thing to do, honestly. It's such a waste of a human life. But that is it, guys, for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Have a wonderful day. Again, happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed them, and see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Bye, I'm so happy I'm back. I'll be screaming right now if I can. Bye.